And welcome back to another episode of
There's one thing we've learned about
Bites.
business and
This is
life.
Syya.
It's that people are the X
And
factor.
you know what? This
They
week,
constantly surprise
I wanna
us,
talk about something
both in amazing ways and not so much.
Webinars are not
We're Ben and Syya,
podcasts.
and
In
welcome
fact,
to Gnaw on
this
This
live
Business
stream
Bites podcast.
is not a podcast.
This show is all about real
Oh,
life
it is.
things we all
Our
deal with
podcast.
every day.
Webinars
How they
are
relate to
webinars.
business and
Video
how to make some
streams
sense
are
out of our
video
daily chaos.
They are
Welcome
not
to the
same
show.
thing. I sit there and say, okay, a podcast is an audio only piece that is done in such a way where people are only listening and they're able to do it on their own while they're doing something else, while they're out for a walk, working out, driving, whatever. As soon as you bring video into the scenario, it's not a podcast. So, Syya, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I think we're going to disagree, but have at it.
Is my face saying it?
I was just a guess, but here we go.
I am going to say I am going to play devil's advocate, and I'm gonna let me just roll with this. I think I might be getting converted. Okay, ready?
Okay.
I feel like in 2022, 2023 and on, the fact that podcasts are so popular, it has reached that, I won't say pinnacle, it has reached that mass, that critical mass needed for society at large to understand what the hell it is, understand the concept around it, and then embrace it, where then it starts morphing into something its own. So my statement on this is this: I'm going to now advocate that podcasts is going to become that ubiquitous term to refer to digital content. Think of it as
it's going to be Kleenex.
Bingo. I was going to call it the Kleenex or the Band-Aid of digital content, because, and here's why I say this. It's because if you look at the demographics of a lot of social media platforms and how people are receiving and eating and digesting their content, 96%, and there's like this latest poll, I can always load up the links and all that stuff to reference it, but according to some articles, if their stats are to be believed, 96%, I know, 96% of the population want to watch video in some capacity, some kind of video thing. And so you see YouTube, the number one video platform, they are embracing the video where people are calling it podcasts, much like we are. This Business Bites, for all intents and purposes, is a live stream on video. You and I strip the audio off of it, and then we distribute it on podcast format, which is audio based and all that stuff. Now, the way I differentiate those two is simply the way that content is disseminated. Podcast, and from an audio perspective, is one to many, right? You load up on a hosting platform punts that thing out to the Spotify, the Google Podcasts, the iTunes of the world, and all that stuff, right? I'm sorry, Apple Podcasts of the world. I just dated myself. But if you load up content like a video onto YouTube, it stays on video. So I call that one-to-one. But that being said, that's just a tool or mechanism of distribution. The actual content itself, however, I'm going to argue could be a podcast. I don't care if it's like in 3D and it gets distributed off accordingly. If that's how society wants to recognize what a podcast is, I say own it, because that's just more business for you and me. Now we've got a broader reach to help our clients to reach whatever digital content potential and tool that they want to use to, grow credibility, gain trust, grow brand recognition, grow community, all that stuff. It's a tool that now I think I'm saying embrace it. Embrace the video. You know what?
Embrace I'm not ready to embrace it yet. And I'm going to tell you why. 95% of the people that are podcasts out there, first of all, there's 4.5 million podcasts out there, and 90% of them fail in 10 episodes or less because they're doing them wrong. They don't have a strategy. They don't have a purpose. They don't understand the medium. They don't understand how to communicate on the medium. And it's a lot of work. And they're sitting there going, oh, well, if I just record this thing on Zoom or Zencastr or whatever I want to do, and I take the audio and I strip it off and I send it to audio, and then I take the other to video, and it's the exact same content. Well, guess what? If all it is is two people sitting there talking like this for 25 or 35 minutes and having those interesting conversations. You know what? Your brain will deal with that in an audio format because you can fill in the picture in your own brain.
Dude,
if you're looking at somebody for 35 or 40 minutes, it better be interesting. You know, we've created a TV studio here. We have created a TV studio here. We're more animated. We're putting our faces in there. You know, I'm willing to do all those type of things with my face because we need to make it entertaining and we need to make it dynamic in order to make it interesting. And we've also cut it down to 15 minutes or less because that's a format that we understand that people will pay attention to. They're not willing to listen to 35, 45, 55, 60 minutes on a video in one thing and be interested in it. You know, if you even take a look at TV is not 30 straight minutes. It's 5 minutes. It's 2 minutes of commercial. You go away, you go get something from the fridge, you come back, and then it's another 8 minutes. And then you go back and you go to the washroom and you come back, and then it's another, 8 minutes, and you're done. You know, you're not watching full 30 minutes. And we're talking there where it's professionally edited, produced, multiple cameras. If you're just sitting here with a single camera faced on you and it's one dimensional, it's boring. It's boring.
I'm so excited that we are not seeing eye to eye on this at all. I would challenge you because on YouTube, I will watch like episode summaries of Westworld. I will sit through an hour long of that, and it might be an image, it might not be whatever. But Netflix, dude, I binge watched Bridgerton, okay, like a mofo, only to get up because I had to, because my body said, you need to go potty. Otherwise, I was sitting there eating my bonbons and drooling and dreaming of the show. So no, now.
But wait a second here. You just made my argument for it. If you're talking Netflix, we're not talking a low budget, done on a video cam out of your house with one camera and reasonable audio. You're dealing with a fully produced series that enables you to be interested and engaged in the piece for the entire thing. If you're sitting there just looking at your average podcast where people are not creating any dynamicism, there's no background, there's nothing to look at, there's nothing zooming in or out or whatever, you can only hold people's attention for so long on video because guess what? Nobody's really that interesting.
You just triple dog dared me to make us zoom in and out on this video. I just want you to know.
Whoa.
No, but okay. So I know we're going off topic, which is supposed to be webinars are not podcasts. But look, I just said I watched a YouTube video that is over an hour long. That's longer than the actual episode, talking about the semantics and the theories behind that episode and all that stuff. So I'm telling you, I think there is something there. Now, that being said, we're arguing over something where what is a podcast and whatnot, right? But on the same premise, webinars are not a podcast. A podcast is this dialogue. This is a podcast because we've got a back and forth. It's a conversation, and we are lovingly challenging each other. A webinar is its purpose, right? That's what we have to define. A webinar has a purpose. It is meant to educate. Mm-hmm. With the objective of some action item. Usually it is buy our product.
A call to action at one particular point in time or multiple times during the webinar.
It's meant to educate for the context of selling something. Correct. Right? There is an assumption that there is a sell or an ask to buy something or download something after the fact. That is a webinar, and it's a tool that's great to educate and all that, but do not confuse that is a podcast because webinars usually are Q&A focused in a way that is going to, again, sell whatever thing that you are trying to shill at that moment in time. So yes, that's my premise. A webinar is meant for education with the intent to sell, whereas podcast can be anything else but that. That to me, and I cannot. And it frustrates me how many multi-billion-dollar companies think that a webinar is, we'll just add podcast to it and bam, that's what it is. It's like, that hurts me. That hurts my soul.
Well, as you said, it says webinars are there to sell you something, one way, shape, or form. They're there to either move you down the food chain. They're there to, get you to actually engage, to be able to ring the bell, to go to the website, to do whatever. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to move people down that purpose funnel. Great. A podcast, on the other hand, is designed for ideation. It's brand awareness. It is about thought provocation and content providing. And it's not looking at the situation of come and buy this on me on a regular day. Now, people can have advertising on their podcast, and that's a different animal altogether.
That's not the same. Yeah.
But it's looking at things and saying, what is the actual purpose of the webinar versus the podcast? Is it a one and done, or is it ongoing conversation that's designed to build know, like, and trust? And that's where I see the podcast. But you know what? We've had two really interesting different conversations. One is, and I still disagree with you. Podcast is audio format. If you're going to move it over to video, that's a completely different medium. It's a completely different animal, and you have to be thinking differently when creating it that way. It's a different medium, it's a different audience, and it's a different thought process. And that's okay. You and I can disagree on that. But when it comes to the webinar, and the webinar needs to sit there and say, are you trying to sell something to somebody today? Are you trying to move people down the funnel today? Or are you trying to build the know, like, and trust, add value, and be able to sit there and say, look, when you need me, I'll be here. So we've not on this. We've not on two different things. And you know what? I'm full. So how about you, Syya?
I thought we just had an appetizer of that, because I think we really need to keep digging on this, because I think the podcast community has different perspective. My final thoughts on this, and I'll say this very gently. So again, the difference between webinar and a podcast is intentionality and purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we can all agree on that. The definition of a podcast and how it's leveraged sometimes, and this is going to hurt us both, Ben, sometimes it's not up to us to get that definition or to adhere to that definition, because if the culture, the audience, the society at large wants to call a podcast like Kleenex and Band-Aid, sometimes we're just going to have to smile and nod and just rip off that Band-Aid, wipe our faces with Kleenex, and accept podcast is the big parent term for digital content.
Final decision. And you know what? Put in the show notes. Tell me what you think.
Vote for me.
Ben and Syya. See you guys next week.
See ya. Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me, Syya, at innovationmediaenterprises.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites.